I saw in you what someone once saw in me. Something that can't be taught. The makings of a Kingsman. Being a Kingsman is more than the clothing we wear or the weapons we bear. It's about being willing to sacrifice for the greater good. I hope you're ready for what comes next.
Hi, welcome to What the Flick. I'm Christy. That is Alonzo. That is Matt. We are, I guess, kind of dapper today in honor of Kingsman.
Sort of.
I showered. So we're going to talk about, there's a sequel to Kingsman. Whether or not you want it, there's a single sequel to Kingsman called Kingsman: The Golden Circle.
Yes.
Will you tell us about it?
Sure. Eggsy and the Kingsman are back. Early on in the film, Eggsy gets into a fight with somebody trying to assassinate him, who turns out to be a washed out Kingsman applicant, and turns out that the Kingsmen get taken out almost completely, and they need help from their American brethren, the Statesman, and turns out there's a whole other secret kind of independent agency in the States. So Kingsmen are like MI6, then the Statesmen are like the CIA. And we get American-based shenanigans. There is a big bad evil villain played by Julianne Moore in a very weird role. And kind of the same shenanigans and would-be hilarity ensues that we saw in the first one.
A lot of times when I see a sequel to a movie I didn't like, I will at least say, well, if you liked the first one, you'll probably like this one.
Okay.
I don't even know if people that liked the first Kingsman will like this Kingsman.
I think I liked it better.
But
I did too.
I liked it a little better.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't like either of them. But I think that what I think that people liked about the first Kingsman, those people who were fans of it, was the sort of insane over the topness of it, and like the super violence that occurs periodically throughout the film. And this one doesn't go to those crazy places. It's,
no?
I mean, not in terms of like the,
not like the first one does.
in terms of bloodshed and mayhem. It goes to crazy places in terms of being winky and campy and arch.
But there are big action sequences, like the thing on the Italian Alps.
No, there are big action sequences, but they're not
the opening scene.
Right, but it's not like a 500 people in a church shooting each other in the head.
Which I'm glad we don't have that scene.
No, I'm not complaining that, but I'm saying if that's what drew you to the first one, you're not getting that this time.
So I think the first film is this really over the top, very mean-spirited, especially in a couple places.
Right,
kind
the church scene.
Right, that church scene is. Yeah, that church scene is rough.
And that final gag that they build on
the
in this
head
movie.
blowing.
Right.
It never recovers from the church scene, though.
Right, the very final gag with the princess in the movie, it's a little like.
Yeah.
She's back.
Right.
Yeah.
He
Right.
married her. Was gonna marry her.
And there's some, take those, aside from those bits, it is the first one is a pretty effective over the top spoof of intelligence movies, right? And taking to the, almost like a Deadpool style James Bond movie, right? That level of just carnage and mayhem, and what would you expect from Mark Miller? This one,
Matthew Vaughn directed it, yeah.
This one dials a lot of that way, 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 way back. This movie is far less mean-spirited, I feel like, than the first one is. And I think in a certain sense, that's good. But then there's things that they explore that I actually would have rather seen more of. For instance, the big plot is that, and okay, sure, spoiler alert, right? Like if you don't want to know anything about the plot, stop watching now.
Ding, ding, ding.
Stop, just stop, okay. The big plot is that Julianne Moore's holding the world ransom with the poison
tainted
drugs.
with the tainted drugs that she's put out, right?
And the antidote, she has that too.
And so she goes to the president, she says to the president of the United States, like, I want this much money and I want you to legalize all of this or else.
Yeah, and the war on drugs.
Right, and the war on drugs. And the president's reaction to that, I thought was awesome. Like that's this excellent moment of satire that I wish that the rest of the movie would be that consistent in what it was willing to satire. And it doesn't. And it just ends up being this generically over the top action movie, which look, I thought it's certainly better than Hitman's Bodyguard. It's certainly better than some other kind of action.
I'm not entirely sure on that one.
I think it's far better than that one because this one's
not that I loved either one of them, but if I had to watch another one again, I might pick Hitman's Bodyguard.
And the thing with Matthew Vaughn, his big action movies is like, yeah, it's a lot of like big empty style, but it is meticulously crafted big empty style.
Yeah, but the CG's not that good this time. And I thought there were I could see auras around people during some of those action sequences. I'm like, this is what you're supposed to be giving us, Matthew Vaughn, and you're not even doing that all that well.
The first scene, the opening scene in the car was really cool and really thrilling.
Right, that was
that was where I started noticing the green screen. Yes.
But there are a lot of moments where, like, and I sat next to you, like we're in awe, but we're also laughing our asses off at a lot of moments.
It's a fun time.
It's fun. There is one scene that made me a little squeamish that a lot of folks are talking about with what happens with the woman.
At the diner?
No, what happens? No, that part with the that's not that. With the woman he meets at Glastonbury.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know.
That one's a little.
It's called sexual assault in some things I've read about it, and I don't know that it's sexual assault because, they're both very willing and they're on the same page and it's all consensual and everything. But I'm not sure I need to see what he does to her.
Yeah.
The idea of what he does to her is kind of grody enough. But I don't want to see.
It could have been left to the implication.
Close up of her panties. I don't need to see that. And then they're also smug about, hey, that worked, and that maybe it's a moment that kind of it's like a e-break kind of.
These are kind of douchey movies, and this is the kind of thing where I love it when people say, "Oh, you guys try to make everything political." These movies are political.
Yes,
the first movie, the first movie, the bad guy is trying to end global warming, and the second movie, the bad guy is trying to end the war on drugs. It's like that's political. But it's also boring though. I find this movie really dull.
It's too long.
It's too long. I didn't care about any of these. The characters are all cartoony. If you're here for Channing Tatum, you are not going to get much Channing Tatum. I'm going to warn you that right now.
He's like in his underpants a couple of times.
But there's a lot of not him in the movie.
He dances in his underpants. I enjoyed Julianne Moore as a villain. That was kind of fun.
Julianne Moore bruised an eyeball. She's winking so hard. It is so like ha-cha-cha.
But how often does she get to A, be funny, and B, be a villain like that? So that was kind of fun.
Those are both new things, but I just thought she was it was like, okay, it was, if she were guesting on the old Batman show, maybe.
I did like the musical guest in this.
Yes.
I did like that a lot.
I like when he mugs at the camera.
That's
right.
Like even he can't believe this is going on.
I'm okay with that. The action scene with the musical guest is great. There are moments in this movie that kind of save it, that keep it from being completely generic. But then, like the scene you were talking about, like the scene with
in the tent.
And people, you know what? Here's the thing: when people complain about us getting political, guess what? Everybody, pop culture is politics.
And Mark Millar is political.
Right? Whatever.
And
but 14-year-old straight boys who love this kind of thing will love this kind of thing.
I will say though, the setup for that doesn't work so well. But then like the setup of, for example, Julianne Moore's lair, right? It looks like Cars Land at California Adventure. But they set up each of the little buildings in her lair in such a way that they then use them in clever ways. And so like there's an amount of craft and care and planning here that I appreciate. It can be icky at times, this movie. But
we get Chekhov's meat grinder.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Right.
But
everybody drink. I mentioned Chekhov.
The cast is an embarrassment. Colin Firth, Mark Strong, Channing Tatum,
Jeff Bridges,
Pedro Pascal.
Jeff Bridges. But then there's no Big Lebowski reunion. Unfortunately, you have Jeff Bridges and Julianne Moore, but never at the same time.
Right.
And I never watched Narcos. I kept thinking that entire time that they've taken some actor and made him up to look like Burt Reynolds, and at the end it's going to be a big reveal that it's really Jeremy Renner or something.
I thought it was Jeremy Renner the whole time.
And I was like, oh no, it's this this actor who looks a lot like Burt Reynolds. Okay, well,
For
hello.
Game of Thrones fans, it's the Viper.
I've never seen it. I thought it was Jeremy Renner with like a bad porn mustache, and they gave him
And a fake nose.
Yeah, I thought that was because the voice sounds like him. Anyway, I'm saying 6.3. I had fun.
I'm saying 5.5. I did not.
What did I?
7.5.
7.5. Yeah, it's
All right.
It's probably too high, but
To 53%. So it's
yeah, maybe I should
50.
lower my score.
All right.
I'll go 6.5 like Christy because I'm not original.
So 6.1 is our number.
Is it? All right. I guess.
All right.
So it's a 53% on the tomato meter. It and Ninjago were like neck and neck for the 50% area.
It's better than Ninjago. Come on.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
I would agree with you wholeheartely on that. Yes, it is.
But don't take your
Don't
English.
take your kids.
Like Ninjago, this would be and was for me improved. No, actually, it was too early. This movie, because it was a 11 o'clock
We
screening.
didn't drink.
Right. This movie would be much better with a couple of drinks.
But it's also 2 hours and 20 minutes long, so you might fall
Right.
asleep
So,
by the end.
so bring a
Drink
bring something.
judiciously.
Bring a flask.
Bye.